All right, today we got Bailey Simonsson. Now, I've known Bailey, he's been coming in the gym for a while. And one thing I can say about Bailey is he's got unwavering discipline. The guy shows up every single day. I have to mention a beautiful wife, not just because I'm Turkish and your wife's Turkish, but she is, you know, a brilliant woman, amazing father-in-law. And that tells me a lot about you, Bailey, not just as an NRL player for the Parramatta Eels in the National Rugby League, playing centre and wing, but obviously you played centre, wing, fullback. You played for the Canberra Raiders. You've represented New Zealand in the Sevens, which we'll get into. But one thing that I love about your personality is you're a family man. You're grounded. You don't get that much in rugby league anymore. And knowing the type of culture rugby league is, you're the total opposite to that. And I just want to thank you for coming in. And I just want people to see that side of you, because it's humbling for me to see it, understanding what the rugby league culture is. Obviously, you've played 85 games in the NRL. I think the average player plays no more than a handful of games. So you've gone way above the average, and you're only 25. So thanks for joining us today, Bailey. Bailey, I want to first start by asking you, like you've gone to some of the best schools in Sydney. Obviously, you grew up in Manor Vale. You were born there, but some of those schools that you've gone to, like I went to some of the worst schools in this country. You've gone to Murray's College, Canberra, Knox Grammar, Newington College. You've moved around a fair bit. Like, What was that like?
Firstly, thanks for the intro, Mets. Pretty good intro there. But like you said, I went to a few schools. As you can see, when we were younger, Dad's job would move around a bit. So obviously the family was moving around quite a bit through those schooling years, which was, you can take it both ways, you know. It's either, sometimes it's hard moving schools, you know, especially when you make a group of friends and then all of a sudden you're packing up and you're off again. But all good schools. I only had 1 year at Knox. We moved down to Canberra, which was cool. Wasn't keen at the time. I thought moving from Sydney to Canberra, I was pretty off it, but we moved there, met some great mates at Maris, which was a great school too, and then moved back up to Sydney and finished my schooling at Newington, which was, it was a really good school. Had some good mates there, and a lot of mates too that have gone on to do some pretty good things. So, like you said, those good schools give you a lot of opportunities, and to be honest, I probably didn't make the most of it education-wise. I wasn't the best student, but I guess if I look back on it, with my footy, it definitely helped me because you're in pretty professional programs at a young age, so you learn those good training habits, and I think it set me up pretty well.
Was Newington College more of a rugby school? Because you did make a switch to rugby. Was that? Let me ask you a question. Do you like rugby more or rugby league? And obviously Newington School being a rugby based school. So Newington's a rugby school. They play in that GPS comp against Joey's and Kings and all those big rugby schools. But I love playing rugby at school, and growing up, always played both league and rugby. But I've always probably preferred rugby league. But in saying that, I still love rugby, and you never know. Maybe dabble in again one day, but for now, pretty happy just playing rugby league. Yeah, you in 2018 you represented New Zealand in the Sevens.
Yeah,
you went to some amazing countries. Like you're in London, you're in Hong Kong, you're in Paris. How long? What was that? Was that a 12-month experience? What was that like?
Yeah, so I finished up at Newington in school in 2016, and after school I got a contract offer to go over and play some rugby in New Zealand with it's like a joint contract. So I played a bit of Mitre 10 Cup with a team called the Bay of Plenty Steamers, and then was linked with the Sevens too, which is they have a Sevens circuit, and like you said, then you travel around and play in these Sevens tournaments called the World Series. So yeah, it was cool. Got to play in a few of those tournaments. It was a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest. Like I was pretty young and thrust in there, and obviously moved over from Australia, so we've got, you know, half my family's all Kiwis and Māori heritage, so moved over there and played in the Sevens, so that was cool. But it was just for a year, A lot of the boys that I played with then are still there, but I, decided to move back home and back to Australia. And at the time, actually didn't have a contract, just moved home and didn't know what I was going to do. Was just going to start working with my mates. And then, yeah, it's a pretty funny story. Actually, I stumbled across a recruitment manager at the Raiders at the time, named Pete Mullen, who's passed away now, but he's a great man, and just asked what I was doing. I said I was working, and asked me to come along to training. So I just did a training trial, and that's how I got back into league. So I ended up going to training and signing with the Raiders that year.
So what were you going to do? Like if rugby league didn't work out,
yeah,
what were you going to do?
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. Like a lot of people have, I guess, I talk about this a bit. A lot of people have like a smooth transition. They play SG ball 20s straight for an NRL. So I didn't have that sort of transition. I was playing sevens, finished up with sevens, and to be honest with you, even at 20, 21, probably thought that the dream was over in a way. So I didn't have a contract to go to. So as I said, I just moved home. One of my mates' dad owns a construction company, so I was just having a crack on the tools, but I was useless on the tools, so just labouring away. And like I said, it's funny how it works out. I ran into Pete Mullen at the time at a cafe, and he asked what I was doing. I told him, I wasn't playing anywhere, and I was just working with mates. So he said come along for a training trial, and so I did that down in Canberra, and ended up being the best decision I made. Obviously, fast forward 12 months from there, I ended up playing in a grand final of the Raiders, and so it's crazy how things work out, and that's what I've sort of learned along the way is, you just keep showing up and put your best foot forward. Good things can happen. So I guess that's where I sort of get my mindset now from those little experiences.
Obviously, like your junior footy was through Canberra, right? So you played your juniors at Harold.
Yeah.
But then you moved to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, so I had a year there.
You signed a year there.
Yeah.
What made you go from Canberra to the Bulldogs?
That was actually more so just, as I said, when I was younger, we moved from Sydney to Canberra. Then I really, I was at school, I was really missing my mates and some of my family in Sydney, so I was really keen to move back to Sydney, and had a opportunity to move to Newington in Sydney. Obviously, being at that age, I still wanted to keep playing rugby league, and obviously it wasn't going to be viable to drive from Sydney to Canberra every week and continue with the Raiders. So that was purely just to continue my rugby league. And when I say I signed to the Bulldogs, you signed like a SG ball contract, so I wasn't getting paid, but it was just an opportunity to continue my footy up there. And so I think I did a couple of years in the Dogs juniors. Which was cool. But yeah.
Is your family still in Canberra?
So just my brother. We all moved down, and the rest of us, wanted to move back to Sydney and wherever else everyone's moved. But he, met his girlfriend at the time then, Meg, and 10, 12 years later, they're married now, with a little one, and still in Canberra. So still find myself going down there and seeing him and catching up with mates. So yeah, it's good.
Well, you see a lot of people leave Canberra, move out of Canberra. I used to go there a lot, but we used to go there for the wrong reasons. When we were young, we used to go to fucking party and tear the place apart.
Our mooseheads.
Yeah, we used to go from Sydney, start trouble and come back. But we used to have fun there. But Canberra is, I shouldn't say this, and a lot of people from Canberra aren't going to like me, but it's fucking boring, man, in the fucking winter.
Yeah.
And that's when the whole season starts, right?
Yeah.
And do you think it's hard, for Canberra to attract the right players? Because players leave there.
Yeah.
Always. Unless you're from Canberra, it's very hard to stay there. Is that why a lot of players leave? Because I'm looking at the history of Canberra and the players, not the players way back in the 90s because they had a gun side.
Yeah.
But now a lot of people, I don't know whether it's social media or what it is, but they can't seem to keep players or sign top tier players.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, because I feel like a lot of people that move there end up enjoying it. Not everyone, a lot of people do. We get a lot of the English boys obviously come over. They probably used to the cold, so that helps them. But it is. But they've left as well, a lot of them. Yeah. It is. Canberra's obviously known for being pretty boring, but I guess one positive is you can sort of zone in on your footy because there's not
That's
too much else going around. You know, you come up here and there's a lot of distractions.
Yeah.
For a lot of the boys down there, there's not a heap, but I reckon it definitely does probably stop them from signing some bigger players. You know what I mean? Moving down to Canberra is probably not the most enticing move, but in saying that, I actually had a really good time playing there, and I think I was lucky we had a good group of boys because everyone sort of got along and made Canberra probably a bit more enjoyable than what it maybe would have been without everyone. So, but yeah, I don't know what it is either, but I think, you know, myself personally, when I was down there, it wasn't the fact that I wanted to leave the Raiders in leaving, because as I said, I loved the club and everyone in there, but it was probably more lifestyle. Obviously, I got Sarah living up in Sydney, and I was, you know, keen to move back to Sydney and live up here, which I know a lot of boys too that have been there keen to move to Sydney or Brisbane or Gold Coast and play somewhere where they got a beach and, you know, that lifestyle. So lifestyle's a massive factor and probably does hinder them a bit.
So when you were at Canberra, was it you that wanted to leave, or was it the team that showed you the door? Was it you?
Yeah.
Because Sarah was obviously over here.
Yeah.
The transition was sort of like had to be made, obviously, because she works, you know, at Fox. Was that something where you made the decision?
Yeah, it was actually probably a bit of a few things. So we had, obviously, Sarah was up in Sydney, so, you know, I was pretty, at the time, or Ricky's still the coach there, Stick, so we were pretty upfront with conversations, and he knew that I wanted to at some point get up to Sydney and you know, sort of start our life with Sarah up here. But you know, at the same time too, it was at the time when Nicky Kotrick had left the Raiders, gone to the Dogs, so that sort of opened up a spot for me. And then you fast forward to just before I left, Nicky was looking to move back to the Raiders from the Dogs. So you know, Sticky had a chat to me and said that, you know, if I was happy to go and still happy to move to Sydney and find someone to play up here, then, you know, that could work for them too, because it'd accommodate him coming back. So yeah, there's a few things that led to me moving, and I think that's what you'll find in footy a lot is there's always moving parts which result in players moving on, and so common now. But yeah, I was definitely keen to move to Sydney, but as I said, I still loved the Raiders, so it was tough leaving everyone.
It's okay. Now you're at Parramatta, obviously Brad Arthur, a club with a lot of pressure on themselves because they haven't won anything since 1986.
Yeah.
You guys have been so close so many times. I mean, you know, just going back to that game where you popped your shoulder out.
Yeah.
Was that one game from the grand final?
No, that was the grand final.
It's okay, fuck, that was the grand final.
Yeah.
Shit, I got it wrong.
No, it's all good.
So you've lost 2 grand finals.
Yeah.
Fucking loser.
Over
anyway.
2.
I was actually barracking for you. I don't like Parramatta, but I fucking like you. I like you.
Yeah.
Fuck that. You know, that game there, obviously they came out and they beat you guys hard at the start. And it's funny because you guys have a great record against Penrith.
Yeah.
But in that game, they seem to have come out extremely hard. You guys were coming back.
Yeah.
You pop your shoulder out. What a season that was. You know, you change clubs. You get to the grand final. You lose. Your shoulder's gone. I remember you walking into the gym in a sling.
Yeah.
Like, talk us through that.
Yeah, so, you know, moved to Para, started 2022, and obviously we had a great year as a team, ended up getting into the grand final, and, you know, being my second grand final, lost the first one at the Raiders against the Roosters, so I was desperate to try and win it.
You guys should have won that game.
Yeah, the first one was,
fucking,
you know,
Roosters.
hard to take, and they're all hard to take, but,
yeah.
You know, so as you said, leading to that second grand final, we had Penrith, and yeah, obviously they've you see what they've done now, 3 in a row. Like, they're a great team. So, you know, we went out there, and it's just one of those games where, you know, I think they completed like 98%, and, you know, their forwards were just rolling down. Everything was going well for them, and, you know, they played probably 10 out of 10, lights out. And on the other hand, we probably, you know, didn't execute how we probably wanted to, our game plan. And, you know, against good teams like that, and in those big games, if you're slightly off, it's going to show. And it showed in a big way. They jumped out to, I think it was 18-0 or 20-0 at half time, and we still had hope, but it's obviously tough in the grand final to try and come back from that much of a deficit. So second half we were starting to come back a little bit, but I don't think it was ever to a point where we were going to win it. But there was a run where a little break happened and Reid Marnie put a kick in, and I got the ball and then didn't see anyone. I was just running where I thought I was home, and then Dylan Edwards came and swept my legs out, and I've just landed with my arm out and dislocated my shoulder, which was, I've done it before, so I knew straight away what it was, and obviously it's painful, but also just mentally I knew it was ahead with the rehab process and stuff, so that was difficult too. But yeah, so that was that, and then just stuck in the off season where I saw you here and just trying to rehab it. But injuries are all part of footy, so you just got to take them as they come, but definitely sort of challenge your resilience. Each one trying to come back from it, but yeah, back now, fully fit, so yeah, it's all good.
Was that a full reco?
Yeah, full reco. Yeah.
So when you dislocated the time before, did you do a full reco then as well, or that
the time before, I dislocated it, but it wasn't a full reco. The surgery was just a little keyhole surgery. So they say that latter J surgery, which is a full reco, makes it stronger. So in hindsight, maybe I should have done it the first time, but it's all good.
2024 season, it's upon us right now. Obviously, you're going to camp. Every team, surely every team, their goal is to win the grand final, right? Or to make the grand final.
Yeah.
What the discussions in Parramatta would be different to most sides, right? Because the pressure's far greater because of how long they haven't won a grand final for. You got the same coach. You know what I mean? It's going to have as much pressure on him as he did last year. What are you guys doing differently this year? Is there a different mindset? How are you guys going into the season?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. There's all that pressure because before I moved to the Eels, I didn't really probably understand how big a club it was here in Sydney and how much pressure, like you said, comes with it. There's always a lot of external talk from older players and older fans and stuff that Para sort of demands that success, and they had a lot of success back in the day, which we all know about and probably have been longing for it and waiting for it. And we came so close a few years ago, but ultimately second place isn't good enough, and everyone wants to win a comp. So we definitely feel the expectation and can hear and see the pressure, but within our four walls, we try to keep it pretty simple, and Brad does a really good job of simplifying everything for us, making us control what we can control and just focusing on what we can do, and talk a lot about discipline and stuff. I think that's what he does well. We just try to every day just win each day and just stay disciplined to each moment and each session, and trying to improve those 1% each day, and that's all you can really do. As you said, every team's striving for the same thing and training hard, but sometimes training hard isn't enough. So you need a lot of luck and obviously hard work, and that's all we're doing is just trying to work hard and create some good luck.
So a part of having the luck for a season is remaining injury free and having your best roster on there. Obviously, I think there was a game where you lost your 5'8" Mitchell Moses, and that put a lot of pressure on the team. When you start to lose key personnel in team situations, how hard is that on the players? They always say, the next player will come in and do the job, but it fucking never happens. I've never seen the next player come in and do the job.
Yeah.
Every team goes, we've been working at this. We've worked our whole season to make sure that we've got enough players to fill the positions. It never happens. Obviously, if you look at Penrith, if they lose their halfback, they're not going to win a grand final.
Yeah.
They could lose their 5'8", but their halfback, they'd struggle with.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cleary. How important is it to have a healthy team there towards the end of the season to have a chance to win the title?
Oh, it's massive. I reckon it's everything. That's why I touched on before. You need a lot of luck, because if you have a few injuries, particularly to key personnel, obviously your spine members, your half, 5'8" fullback, then you're in a lot of trouble. Like you said, we lost Dylan last year for a big chunk of that season, and you bring other players in, but there's a reason he's on the big money and he's one of our best players. So losing those players, it affects you massively, and it is hard to replace. But I know personally. Sorry to stumble around, but personally, like feeling last year, so Dylan plays on my left edge as a half. So losing him is just, you lose all that talk, communication, experience, and those are things you can't just bring in with a new or younger player. Like experience at that top level is everything, and in those big moments when the pressure's on, if you have someone that's been there before and has a calm head and is cool under pressure and can deliver in those moments, like that's what it's all about, and that's why those boys, like I say, get paid the big bucks in those positions, is to deliver in those big moments. So if you're losing someone like that, and especially at the end of the year when you're in the big games, it's almost impossible to get the job done.
Because last year, I mean, it was a terrible year for you guys in terms of the players. Like you lose your 5'8", you lose your halfback.
Yeah.
Your 5'8" was gone for, what was his name?
Dylan Brown, yeah.
Dylan Brown. So Dylan Brown was out for a while.
Yeah.
Then Mitchell Moses out for a while.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no continuity.
No. Yeah.
Especially in the most pivotal roles in the team to get the results. Does the coaches, the coaching staff, the club look at that and go, "Oh, fuck, mate, we've got to cut these guys some slack. We're effed up here." Or is the pressure still the same?
Yeah, so it's a funny one. It's a funny question because the pressure's still the same. From, I guess when I talk about externally, fans and talk shows and everyone watching it, when you're playing in the NRL, no one really cares, and there's no excuse really. Like you're still going to get hounded the same way, and I guess people, realistically, if you're missing your half and your 5'8", people realistically know that the team's not going to be as strong, and that's going to take a hit. The team's going to take a hit somewhere, which is in results effectively, I guess. But Brad's pretty good at dealing with those situations, and he knows that when we've got different people stepping into those boys' roles, that they're not the same player, and no one expects people that come in to become, come in and be Mitchell Moses or Dylan Brown and play like them. It's about just playing their own game. But in terms of pressure from, I guess, the coaches to succeed, there's still that high expectation to go out there and get the result, because I think they do have a lot of belief in us and as a squad. So it's definitely not a matter of losing some players and then just being okay with going out there and just doing your best. Everyone's still driven to go and win, and that's the thing with professional sport is winning's the only option, I guess, and anyone that says otherwise is probably kidding themselves. It's all about winning, and that's what you get judged on. People's jobs and livelihood is at stake, and that's what really it comes down to, is results. And if you're not winning, then changes are made to, I guess, players and staff and everyone, and that's why it's such a high pressure environment.
Yeah. When you talk about high pressure environments, obviously, when you look at, especially the team you're playing for, Parramatta, you lose Reid Mahoney. And he seemed to have, like, he was getting, great continuity with the halves. He goes to the Bulldogs. He has a shit season. When you move from club to club, how hard is it fitting in to the new way, the new culture, new coaching staff, pretty much everything new?
Yeah, it is actually. It's probably something you underestimate a bit. Like I
shouldn't say he had a shit season. He didn't have a good season at all.
Yeah,
maybe the whole team wasn't performing at the best.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it affects everyone.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing with footy too. When you're
my Canterbury Bulldogs mates would like me to say that.
Yeah, Reid is a good mate of mine, and he's a great player. And he probably, as a team, they definitely, probably didn't have the season they want, and it's hard, when you're in a team that's struggling. It's almost impossible to, to play your best footy. So, I'm sure they'll turn that around, and Reid he's a good fella, so they'll be good with him there. But it's one of those things, like, you probably underestimate it moving footy teams. Is you probably just think that you're going to turn up and it's just rugby league, you're just going to play the same way. But there's so many things that go into a club where it's meeting new staff members, new strength and conditioning coaches. There's a whole new program that you have to adapt to, and way of training, and then that's not even talking about footy yet. So then you move to footy program. It's a whole new system to learn, defensively, and attack as well. whole new principles and ways that teams like to do things in those small details. And personally, I actually struggled with it a bit. My first season at the Eels was adapting to the new systems, and you know, Brad was always at me, and you know, we were always talking about, you know, me trying to adapt to the new system, because I was sort of doing things that we probably used to do at the Raiders, and you know, just subconsciously things that you're used to and those habits you've built. So it's definitely hard, and that's for me playing in the centres or on the wing, you know. So someone like that plays in the halves, or you spoke about Reedy moving as a hooker and a real key position, it's not easy moving teams, and you know, especially when you're, I guess, in a team that's struggling as well, it would make it even harder. So definitely something that I reckon people take for granted a bit, and I personally know I did.
Coming through rugby league, obviously your dad played the game.
Yeah.
Right. Besides your dad, and tell me, we'll talk about your dad. How pivotal were their roles in your pathways to playing the game? And then who do you look up to, even in all the sports? Like, who do you go, fuck, that's the guy, that's the discipline, that's the guy I want to emulate, that's the guy's discipline that I want to become. I like his recovery process, I like his training process, I like his thought process. Like, who are the people that you looked up to?
I think probably just touching on my dad quickly was when you're, you know, a young kid, everyone always looks up to their parents and wants to be like them. And, you know, for myself, my dad was obviously, you know, massive for me, and always, I still remember being young and would always go down to the park and kick a footy around, and, you know, he probably taught me all the basics of the game and everything I know. So he was definitely, you know, probably the person I looked up to the most growing up. And I always wanted to, you know, ever since I can remember, you know, knowing that he played footy, I always wanted to do the same, and I guess follow in his footsteps. So he was definitely someone that I looked up to in that sense. But he was also very good. He never put pressure on us kids, and pressure on me. He was pretty chill with it, and I think that was important too, because sometimes you can, you know, I've seen before some parents and dads that are just too much, and you can burn kids out a bit. So he was really good in that sense as well. And athlete I looked up to, I guess, I like to watch, watch a lot of the American sports and that. And if you look at, I don't know if you've seen it, but like The Last Dance, that Michael Jordan. Yeah.
Great.
So like when you talk about discipline and routine and I guess just striving to be your best self, like I remember watching that and just being like real motivated. I think someone like that, you know, the sessions he puts in and the time you put into your craft, the results speak for themselves. So I don't really have too many people I look at, but I guess if I was to say anyone, I would look at that documentary, not just to watch it as that, but I guess as an athlete, watch it like he talked about, looking at his processes. And that's something I'm big on, is like a process and being process driven and letting the results take care of themselves. So looking at that was very inspiring, because everyone knows what he's achieved, but it's not until you see that show that you really realise how much work he put in. And it's no fluke that he's achieved what he's achieved. So I guess if you ask me who I look up to, I'd probably say I look up to him after seeing that and seeing his process.
You know, going back to The Last Dance, one of the things with Michael Jordan was, and if you watch it, he the pressure that he put on the team to be able to perform was quite staggering, and it showed that pressure does create results, but he also had a great relationship with the coach to create those results. The coach knew how to handle him while he was putting pressure on the other players. I think that's important, especially in team sports. But, you know, when you look at, like, you know, he won 6 titles. Like, to be able to do something like that, especially in a sport so competitive, is extremely hard. I mean, it was something that Kobe Bryant was going for as well. But Kobe Bryant was like that with the teammates. He didn't like it when they didn't come early enough to practice, but they didn't stay behind to practice again. He felt that was necessary in winning championships. You know, do you guys like have anyone like that in the club where they're putting in more work and they're carrying people across the line? Because I think sometimes it's necessary, especially in team sports. I had Toby Riddoff here a few weeks ago, and we're talking about the year they won the grand final, which was 2016.
Yeah.
He said the one thing that they done extremely well that year was at every point when one guy went to go get a coffee, they were all getting coffees all the time. So the team were together all the time. So the pressure was we got to be everywhere at the same time, putting in the work at the same time all the time. And obviously the results speak for themselves. He said that's something he's going to do this season. He's going to take it upon himself to make those necessary changes, and he's going to push the levels to sort of adhere to that process that won him a grand final in 2016. Is there things like that are happening in, that happened at Canberra and at Parramatta Eels, like when he's had that mad run in 2022? What was the difference?
Yeah, it's probably the most underrated strength in a team is that culture and building that culture and, what you want to strive for as a team. And I guess, it's all about sort of trying to create a legacy and what sort of legacy you're going to leave behind. As a saying that I remember hearing, the old All Blacks coach Steve Hansen said was, legacy is something everyone leaves behind a legacy, and it's either going to be a good legacy or a bad legacy. And, what you do in the jersey and what you do with your time and how you spend your time will determine whether it's a good legacy or a bad legacy. And that's something we've touched on at the Eels, particularly this year, is driving those standards from the top down. And something I noticed and I spoke about before is when I first went to the club was every morning I'd see Brad running up the hill, doing hill sprints, 5 in the morning.
You mean the coach?
Yeah, our coach. And then you walk around the corner and you walk to where the gym is, and this is you see Gutho, Clint Gutherson, our captain, on the watt bike just smashing himself. So you talk about setting a standard before you've even walked into the change room and started your day. You've just walked past your probably 2 most influential figures within our football team, leading the way. So that's pretty inspiring, and that's something I noticed straight away at the Eels. And then this year even you see a lot more boys when you walk past the gym and walk through a gym, a lot of boys are in there early and training and prepping, and that's no coincidence. That's because, they've seen our 2 leaders doing that, and it's set a standard, and that's creating a culture within our team. So I guess to answer your question, when you talk about is it helpful or is it happening at the Eels, then yeah, it does, and it does happen at the Eels. And all successful teams, I think, have those leaders. When you ask about the Raiders back in 2019, we had great leaders through Sia, who you're good mates with too, and Josh Hodgson and Jared Croker, who sorry man,
that's right, man.
Dry throat, who set those standards. And you can't achieve anything without good leaders, and you can't achieve anything without high standards. So it starts at the top and it'll flow down, and that's definitely what we've been working on at Para, and we've got that now, and hopefully that can translate onto the field. And you spoke about Toby and them trying to create that at Cronulla. Every team needs good leaders to be successful, and we've definitely got that at the Eels. So I'm hoping that this year we can translate onto the field, because
because I even in business, it's the same thing. It goes top down. If your best players from top down are pushing the levels of what's necessary. Look, that's why I was just before here. I had a workout with a couple of my staff members. I had workouts with them earlier in the week. This week I'm going to be going into classes and participating with the different members and the different instructors that we have employed here. They actually love it when I do that. So people love it. So when you can do that, and the leaders of the coaches and the top players in the team are doing it, it really starts to create the foundations for success. What are you doing differently this year to be one of those people in the team? Where, because you're 25, you've played 85 games. I don't know. You're coming in towards that senior role. You get 22, you're over 100 this year. You're getting into that senior role. What are you going to do differently this year?
Yeah, I think it's just, the main thing is, like you talk about, what I'm going to do differently is if you just get yourself right and your own prep and set your own standards, and every day, have the discipline to go in there every day and try and, reach those standards and that's how you set an example, I think. Like you said, everyone can be a leader in their own right. So for me, it's about working hard, first of all, because that's my main thing. Nothing good comes without hard work. Secondly, being there for those younger boys, because I was once in their shoes. So, reaching out to them and checking in on them, and that falls on leadership too. And thirdly, just talk about processes, making sure I'm doing all the right things away from the field, because you're only at training for so long, and that's all well and good to turn up to training and train hard, but what are you eating when you go home? Are you sleeping well? What are you sacrificing? Like, you've got to sacrifice something to be successful. So that means, throughout the season, you're not going out with mates, you're not partying, you're not doing all those things that all your other mates away from footy are doing, because deep down you're chasing something. And to get that, it's going to require sacrifice. So,
is that because you got a Turkish father-in-law?
Yeah, that's Tom. So for me, it's this year it'll be making sure I'm getting everything away from the field right, because always reflection's good. And probably last year, if I looked at my year last year, probably wasn't 100% right away from the field. And that's not saying I was going out, get on the piss all the time, because that's not, I don't do that much anyway. So that's not what that was. But it's just little things. And
what were the little things? Like, I could if I went back on my life where, I wasn't disciplined enough, if my mate said come out for a drink, I'd say yes. I wouldn't say no enough. What are the discipline things that you're going to change from last year to this year? Well,
for me, it's probably my prehab, going home, stretching, getting my body right, because I had a few niggles and things go on, which is, it doesn't happen by fluke. Like, it's because I wasn't probably getting those things right. You speak about diet and stuff too, and it's so crucial as an athlete, and it's something I probably, as you're younger, you take for granted a little bit and you don't focus as much on. But diet and sleep, those are the little things I'm talking about that I really want to hone in on this year. And, as you said, I'm 25 now. I'm probably coming into the best years of my career. So for me, it's about just trying to be the best I can be and try and tick every box away from footy. And, if I can look myself in the mirror and know I've given absolutely everything, then, no one can be upset with that. Whatever the result is, that will be. And as long as I know I haven't cheated myself and I haven't cheated the process, then I'll be happy and content with everything.
Obviously, you got engaged to Sarah last year.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to get married sometime in the next year or two. How important is it having the stability of having a partner and playing the game? How does that help and affect your game and the season ahead?
Yeah, it's massive. It's I feel like she probably has to deal with a lot more than she should. She gets the full raft of everything. If I've had a good day of training or a bad game or a good game, she's constantly dealing with the emotions, and it's such an emotional roller coaster, rugby league. Just like of business and stuff, there's a lot of highs and there's a lot of lows, and I've probably not been the best at dealing with those highs and lows, and I'll come home either in a good mood or a bad mood, and she's just always been that rock for me and stability, and yeah, she's everything to me and her family. So I love having her there, and she's a good influence for me too. Like, here we're always me and her will come to the gym together, we train together, and she's good at keeping me on track, and she's good at keeping me grounded too. If things are going good, she keeps me grounded, and if things are going bad, she lets me know they're never as bad as they seem. So she's massive for me.
Yeah. So what are some of those conversations look like? Like, say you have a shit day at training. What does a shit day look like? So you're training. What do you got? Cameras on you? What is it? What happens?
Probably more so games. Probably can give you a better version of a bad game. If you come home from a bad game.
So wait a second. So you're in the dressing sheds.
Yeah.
You've had a bad game. Do they tell you you've had a bad game, or you've had a bad game?
You know in yourself. I mean, if you've played enough games, you probably know if you've done your job or not. But she's conversations are probably not much, to be honest. It's probably that's probably the thing. I probably don't say much. I'm more silence in the car, and it's something you have to learn, and you got to leave work, footy essentially work where it is, and when you come home, you've got to come home and be a good partner and a good family member, and that's probably something I'm still working on. I get quite attached to the result, and something you've got to learn to just let go. And as I said before, you give your best, and if you've given everything, then the result is what it is, and you got to go home and move on with life. But
it's hard though, separating the two. Like, all my life I try and separate this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had my in-laws over yesterday and we're doing a barbecue, and for a moment I said something, but then I just cut it. But I do that.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like even when I go home, I was very bad at it. But even when I go home now, I just try not to say anything. I go, okay, what do I got to do tomorrow to make sure we execute these things better? Was I clear enough in what I have to do? What's the preparation look like? Is that to-do list clear on my end, their end? What was my follow-up like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now I'm kind of looking at that, and like sometimes the day does get away from me and I get busy, and you do get into your own mind sometimes. But what you said before, what you do outside the field matters the most. Explain that.
Well, I reckon simply if you break down the hours, probably out training for, I don't know, maybe 6-7 hours a day. There's 24 hours in the day, so the rest of that time I'm spending away from the training facility, away from the watch of the coaches. So it's something that I try to pride myself on and try and be good at. Is anyone can I guess be doing the right things and looking the part when people are watching them, when your coaches are watching you, and Brad's watching you, and of course I'm going to eat healthy in front of Brad. Of course I'm going to drink my fluids and be stretching in front of our strength and conditioning coaches and doing all those things. But it's what you do when you go home in those hours when no one's watching. What are you doing to better yourself? So I come in here a lot, even during the season. I'll come in here to your gym here, and whether that's just coming in doing some stretching, or whether that's I feel like I need to do some more weights or mobility work or whatever, that's something I've tried to really focus on and be good at, is my time away from footy. That's probably why you see me in here so much.
Yeah.
And it's deliberate. It's because I'm trying to better myself away from here. So yeah, that's what I mean by I feel like it's more important. And you probably learn that as you get older, is all the recovery and all those little things that you do away. That's what gives you the longevity and ability to be able to keep playing and get through a season, because seasons are so tough on the body. So I just feel like you need to be doing the right things away in order to have that success. And if you get a whole team that's probably committed to doing that, I feel like that's when great things are probably possible.
Yeah, and like when you look at anything that you want to become really good at, and you're focused on becoming that leader or becoming that supreme athlete that helps the rest of the team, those little 1%ers almost have to be better than your competitors' 1%ers in order to reach your goals. Recovery, I believe, is probably one of the biggest things. Like at this age, when I'm 47 right now, like I put so much more effort into my recovery. When I look at, for me, I like to study absolutely everything, then execute it on myself, because I feel like if I'm recovering faster than everyone else, and I'm eating the foods that gives me the brain cognition, the clarity that I need, that means I'm going to be sharper than my competitors.
Yeah.
How and I always say to people, like, if you can do the research yourself or find the best coaches, always put in those extras. If you put in those extras over, they're like compound interest over a year, it just starts to change absolutely everything. Do you guys get sort of homework from the coaches of, hey, we need you to do this?
Yeah, definitely. That's probably one of the luckiest things is being in an environment like an NRL team, is you've got all those resources and all that knowledge is right on your doorstep. We've got nutritionists, we've got strength and conditioning coaches, we've got recovery and rehab coaches, we've got physios, all our football coaches. So everything's there for you to be the best you can be. So there's no excuse really to not know what to do, or not know what to eat, or not know how to become the best you can be. So it's about using that though, and that's probably what I speak about is what I want to try and do this year and continue to do, is really hone on that away from my footy. And so like it's using the nutritionist to get a meal plan, or talking to Elke, our strength and conditioning coach, about what do I need to do mobility wise to improve my body. So for example, we're constantly getting screened and monitored physically, our hammy strength, our shoulder strength, and then from those results you have extras you need to do to for injury prevention and whatnot. So that's a lot of work I do here is from those tests, is trying to work on my hammy strength or whatever it might be. So as I said, all the resources are there. It's whether you use it or not. And probably as you spend a few years in the system, you get older, you start to realise how important they are. I think when I first started and you're younger, you know, you're 19, 20, you can go play a game and go have some beers after and wake up the next day and feel like you're ready to go straight away again. But as your body's probably taking a few more hits now, as you get older, you need those, I guess, recovery processes in place to be able to get through a year. So they become so important. And yeah, we're so lucky to have all that at the club.
Okay, we're getting towards the end, but I'm going to ask you a tough question now. If you don't make the top 4, is Brad Arthur going to be there? Because, you know, when you look at the sport itself, there's loyalty, but there's no loyalty.
Yeah.
And loyalty is only based on results.
Yeah.
You guys have to, like in my, like I follow rugby league.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on you guys. Anything less than top 4, with the pressure Brad Arthur's got on him, is he going to be there? Crystal ball.
Honestly,
you got to be diplomatic anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. And I don't want to speak out of school. And all I know is that I see what he does every day. And like I spoke to you earlier about the standards he sets, running up the hill at 5 a.m. He's in there all day. Everyone goes home. Brad's still there working away in video. He'll text you. He'll send you videos. He'll check in on you, check in on your family. Like, he is such a good coach and such a good person that he deserves success. And ultimately, he's got such a good program there for us. It's up to us as players to buy in and deliver those results for him. Because as I said, if anyone deserves success, it's Brad, because he works so hard. So I really hope we can deliver that for him this year. Because yeah, he's a good man. He's a great coach, and he does deserve that success. So as a playing group, and you know, not just a playing group, as a whole squad, coaches, staff, everyone, you know, this year we've worked so hard on our culture, like we spoke about before, and becoming even tighter as a group and working for each other. So, you know, it's about having one another's back through the journey and through the season. There's going to be highs and lows, but, you know, I really believe we're setting ourselves up for this preseason to have a good year, and hopefully finish at the top and then go on to win the comp. You know, that's the plan and that's the goal. And yeah, and I'm sure, you know, Brad's going to be there for many years, and yeah, hopefully I'm there playing under him too.
One last one. Mitchell Moses, that contract saga went for a long time.
Yeah.
Went for a while.
I think he was just adding zeros.
Fuck me dead, mate. How hard is it on it? He was adding zeros. He's a great negotiator, or his manager was just, you know, playing the game. But how hard is that, you know, for you guys to see that in the media all the time? Do you what does it look like? Do you go up to him and say, mate, what are you doing, Mitchell? Does anyone go up to him, or everyone keeps to themselves?
Yeah.
Once contract negotiations are going on, they go, mate, I don't want to say anything because I could be in that same position.
Yeah, it's funny because you read the papers, you look at all the shows on TV, and everyone talks about how this affecting Parramatta, the players, you know, the
disharmony, everything.
Yeah, this disharmony, the saga, blah blah. Respectfully, no one cares. Mitch turned up every day, as professional as always. You know, turned up every week. He's one of our best players, as he usually is, and all that contract stuff's personal, and it's everyone at the end of the day is just trying to, you know, rugby league's a short career, and you've only got so long to make money. So there's a lot of things that factor into a contract, and when you, especially for him, I don't want to speak for him, but when you're dealing with a contract or whatever size it is, but one as big as him is. There's a lot of factors. There's family, there's where you want to play your footy, there's long-term planning and what you want to do. So as a player, as teammates, like, no one cares what he's... Obviously we care and we want him to stay, but in terms of it dragging on, like, it's not a problem as a playing group, and it's more probably just outside noise that people think it creates disharmony. And if you're not winning footy games, then media comes up with anything and they'll find any reason to, you know, sort of point the fingers and say why you're not winning. But contract sagas, it's never a team thing. That's always a personal thing, and boys are always really good and respectful around that stuff.
And life after rugby league, what does that look like for Bailey?
I don't know. Hopefully, just working here at Titans or something.
Fucking hope we need some fucking good talent.
No,
start putting them under the blowtorch.
No, we've
had
an
initiation straight after this. Gonna start making him dig.
Yeah,
remember Mr. Miyagi, like wax on, wax off, stay in this room. You shit on the tools, so I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. Mate, I'd love to have someone
Yeah,
like
no,
you. I mean, even after this, I'd like to sit down with you
Yeah, we've
and
spoken
work on
before
things.
too, yeah, about
You know, because look, the fitness industry is fantastic. It's like sport. It's like rugby league. You know, the cream rises to the top. It's the guys that put in the work. It's about the people at the end of the day.
yeah,
Honestly, it is. It's no different. Honestly, it's no different than rugby league. It's about the people and the results that they get, and you being as real as possible. So you're relatable.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And if you can hit those metrics and then get people results, because everyone wants to feel better.
yeah,
Like even in this gym, I've been doing this for 25 years. The biggest thing that happens is people want to belong to a community. They want to be able to trust you. They want to believe that they can get a result.
yeah,
They want to believe that they're not alone, because everyone goes back home and they think they're alone in this journey of trying to look good and feel good. And then the area we live in, you know where we live.
yeah,
The pressures are through the roof. 100%. You got fucking the Pav there, you got the Coogee Bay there, you got every beer garden there is. And so it's about helping people manage that pressure and that stress to go out, because we live in a culture here where alcohol, drugs, going out, fitting in with groups is the norm.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's probably more bad groups than good groups.
Yeah.
My goal here is to make that easier for people to access, and then to be there for them when they fall. And go, hey, listen, let's get back up, man.
Yeah.
Let's have another 2-3 month run. We're not going to be perfect throughout the whole season, but what we're going to be able to do is get back up, get back on a good run, and be around the people that need to be honest with you and support you. And I like, for all my life, but I'm getting very close to it. I'm trying to create this community, but I'm doing all the videos. So if you've got, and I'll name the names. If you've got menopause, if you're an old guy who his testosterone levels are down, he feels fucked, he feels shit, he feels life's gone by him. If you're a female and you're going through bad menstrual cycles, there's an answer to all that.
Yeah.
I'm fucking 47. I'm training with 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm lifting as much as them. But one thing I don't do is make a complaint that I'm fucking 47 and that they're 20 years old and they've got it over me.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Whether you're a male, whether you're a female, hormones are hormones on males and females. I've seen heaps of male hormones where they struggle, their testosterone levels, their blood work isn't good. But what they do is they go, I'm this age. It's past me. But whether you're a female or a male, it's the same fucking complaint. Look, all I deal with is people's problems.
Yeah.
I've got a bad knee, got a bad back, got a bad shoulder. I'm young, my friends are going out here. I've got menopause, I've got bad menstrual cycle, my testosterone's low, my blood work's shit, my back's fucked. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
But everyone thinks, oh, my problem's my problem. No, they're fucking universal. They're the fucking same.
Yeah.
And essentially that's what it is. And that's why, like, you know, when you said, you know, you want to go in the fitness industry, I said, fuck, man. I go, you know, you play rugby league, and if you can understand all of that, then the game becomes easier.
Yeah, well, that's probably, like we said, we've had some talks before about trying to catch up, and it'll be good to sit down and talk about it more, because it is something I'm keen on doing, and being in that industry and coaching and helping people and working within gyms and stuff, because I think for myself, one, it's you know, it's you still learn that physical training and that fitness, which is something I'm passionate about. And then two, like you spoke about, then you've got your team, like for yourself too, you've got all your workers and trainers and stuff who it comes under that teamwork, and you can still sort of have that sort of team environment where you're creating a culture like we spoke about before, and which is always fun. And then three, you're helping people change their lives and for the better, like you said. Then we live in a time where there's social media and stuff too, and there's so many pressures, and I think it's a good feeling helping people. So yeah, fitness industry is something I'm passionate about, and would like to get into one day. So, you know, hopefully I can play footy for a little bit longer yet, and keep having a good time there. But it's definitely something you got to think about, because unfortunately, you know, I've suffered a couple of injuries already, but you're only one bad injury away from, you know, having to never being able to play again. So hopefully we can sit down and
100%, bro.
chat. It'd be good.
No, for sure. Bailey, thanks,
Thanks,
brother.
Bruce. Thanks for having me.
I'm gonna get Sarah on next day.
Yeah, get her on there. She'll be better
she's
than me.
interesting. She's done extremely well. Very proud of like what she's doing on Fox.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I believe she's gonna have a big career. You know, like I'm doing this shit, and my mates go to me, "What do you think? You're a fucking journalist." I said, no, I'm just a fucking kid from the streets having a fucking go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, brother.
It's
Thank
the
you.
best. Thanks, Bruce.
brother.
Thanks,
Thank you.
mates.